Guys, we're here wire brushing the anodes on my lower unit off. This is a step everybody forgets. When you're servicing your lower unit, doing the impeller, the water pump, whatever, and your gear oil, of course, so you already got it off. It's no better time to do it than now. You just lay it on its side and do it. You gotta take the anodes off and wire brush them so it makes good contact with the water and they get eaten up instead of your lower unit. The old water pump didn't really look that bad, but it's got a lot of memory. Got a new one. There was a recall on my engine for the water pump failures. I've changed them, but I've always changed them with the old kit. This is the new one that it calls for. It's a little different. How they look? Let me see. Ooh, they look brand new. E-Tec, 25 horse. It's the easiest motor I've ever had. You just loosen up that top screw, disconnects the shift rod from it. That's when you take off the covers for the inlet screens. Go ahead. Off.
No.
Getting the old gasket off of it. With my little nifty, little lower unit spinning table. You see that shit? What? Get all the corrosion off, any mating surfaces too, like around here. Let me see if I don't eat the file. Always grease up your little pins for next time when you're gonna take it apart, so it locks up together. Remind me to put a little grease up here, Bopple. A little bit right there, see it? Oh, and put a rag in here. That's your exhaust port. You don't want stuff falling in there. That's good as new. This is not a painted surface. You don't want to do this on a painted surface. Still has a little right here, you see it? That's good. And if you notice right here, where your sacrificial anodes go, there's no paint. You see that? There's no paint where it screws together. Look at the other side. There's no paint. Never paint that. If you paint that, Adrian, or whoever, your sacrificial anode will not make contact with your anode. That's what that's like that for. You know what I'm saying? These just go like this. Make sure that they're going the right way. Go over here. Let me see. Where's the screw for this? Where did I put it? So make sure you never ever paint that. If you paint it, it's not going to make contact and it's going to eat your motor real quick. Put a little bead all around the edge. Just a little tiny bit. Just because this doesn't really matter. It's not like a car and it's not going to leak water out of a system. It's just pushing water constantly in and out. But you still got to do it. But you don't have to go crazy with it. I'm just wiping the tip on you. I see people put way too much and you don't need to. Little piece of that shit comes out and gets stuck in your impeller or whatever. In your fucking cooling system, it gets stuck in one of the little bends in the hoses. Put a little bit of gasket sealant Okay, now I'm gonna get that paper gasket. Alright, let me take off my little drive shaft holder here. I don't want this thing falling out. Put my gasket on here. I really don't need to hold it, it ain't going anywhere. Let's go right here. Let it go drying a little bit. Next, after this, I'll be putting the plate. I'll put also a little bit of gasket sealant on top. Just a little bit. See, I just put enough to make that thing, make it tack on there. Dry it a little bit. I'll put a little bit more, not much. Remember, you don't want this stuff to squeeze out when you're tightening it. This isn't a water pump on a car. You're just wasting it, and then a little chunk will come off, and like I said before, get stuck on one of your passages for your water. I'm just basically dabbing it everywhere that it's going to make contact. That plate goes across here. The shift rod goes through there. Just do the whole edge, but don't glob it up. I got everywhere. Well, see, I'm missing a little spot right there. Really doesn't fucking matter, but because it's underwater. Next, I'll be putting my plate. The plate goes this way. You can see this one. See how it's facing like that? And when I took it out, it was like this. So you gotta put it back. If I put it like that, it's backwards. I'll see. Let that dry for a little bit. Then make sure my holes are lining up. Let me wipe this one off. This one's a little dirty. It's a little extra step I like to do just to make sure I'm going to be able to get my bolts in. You don't want to put this all together. You ain't line it up right. I don't like how this one ran in. That one was a little tough earlier, wasn't it? Wasn't there one that was a little hard? So I went ahead and reset my bolts just to make sure I'm lined up good with the gasket. I'll let this dry now for a little bit and be right back. My torque wrench. Hear my arm go click? When my arm go click, right there. Click. You heard it? Hear my arm go click? Well, we're done. Just gotta reinstall. another step, get a little bit of grease. This is where the shift rod is going to go in when you're pushing it on. Put a little bit of grease there. And I also like to put a little bit, this is where the water pump blows water up. It's going to connect now with the tube that's up inside the, underneath the cowl. I'll go ahead and grease that up a little bit. I'll put a little bit more for the shifter in there. I want it to go in smooth. This is where your shifter for reverse and neutral and forward. It goes right through there from top in. Alright, and last but not least, you get the last little bit of grease on your finger like that. And you get the splines on your drive shaft. And you put a bunch of grease on here. If you don't put a bunch of grease on here, in 2 years, when you, I do this every, well, you should. I don't. You should do it. It's been 5 since I did this one. It made it 5 years. But you should do it at least every 2 years. If you fish a lot, every season, every year. But just make sure you put grease on the splines so when it goes together, it doesn't seize. Alright, you can go ahead and pause it. We'll go put it. Also, for these E-Tec engines, you do not have to remove the side panels covers to remove the shift rod from up top. You can do it from the bottom. Just loosen up that top one and it'll pop right out, leaving the shaft inside. That goes for E-Tec 25, 30. I know 25 and 30. 15 should be the same too. You just take off the inlet screen covers and it's right there. Put it right back together, it slipped right in there. Now I'll tighten it up, we're done.